So, my great-great-grandmother was the first non-Indian child born in the city of Evanston. She was one of, I believe, 4 children. She was raised here in Evanston, married a gentleman that came here from Prussia, Germany. And her family, she grew up in a farm. The farm was somewhere in the area that her father owned, which was Asbury to Maple Church to, I forgot the other side of it, but he owned 140 acres right in that approximate area. That was his farm, and that's where she grew up.
And how did he get here?
He came from Massachusetts. So his name is Paul Pratt. He's actually Paul Pratt Jr. His father was actually a Minuteman. He fought in the Bunker Hill and Lexington, battles of Lexington, and then he stayed in Massachusetts. His son was born in Massachusetts, Paul, and Paul Pratt then decided he wanted to find his fortune. I'm going to go west, and he aimed for Chicago. He ended up in Evanston, and then he had a squatter's right on about 140 acres, which he eventually bought from the state, federal government, I guess, back then, for $1.25 an acre. And then he was a farmer. He also was felling trees. One of the big things he did was taking down trees, getting them out onto the river and sending them to Chicago. So there's a government pier, which I think is what is now called Navy Pier, and it's made with the majority of wood that he supplied. And then his daughter, Susan, married a gentleman, Louis Leonhardt, who came from Germany, and he, in fact, I don't know if he did it with Paul Pratt. I don't know how they got together, but he was also in the logging industry and gardening. It's very into gardening.
So what year, do you know what year they arrived? Paul arrived?
It was about 1839, I think it is. He left Massachusetts and started heading this way. So the town's original name was Grosse Pointe. Then the town's next name was Ridgeville. And then it became Evanston. For a while there, while it was Ridgeville, people kind of thought Evanston was the northwestern, where the campus was, and the campus was Evanston, and the rest of the town was Ridgeville, and eventually it just all cleared up and was incorporated.
And then so that's your great-great-grandfather?
Yes.
And then everybody has lived here since then?
Yes. From that part of the family, yes. Susan Pratt's family. Susan had 12 children. 4 of them passed away. During 1880, typhoid, I think it was that hit, but everyone got sick. 4 of her children died during that, and then she had a couple more. I actually have her cookbook, and the kids have scribbled in it, and we found it in the basement. My brother still lives in a house built by my great-great-grandfather on the Swanson side, so it's that family goes back. They came from Sweden. So my grandmother's name was Stella Stiles Swanson. Her family is the one that goes straight back to Susan Pratt. Stella Stiles, it was the daughter of George Stiles, who was the fireman, for one of the first 2 firemen to die in the line of duty, December 13th, 1905. And the fire department in Evanston is doing wonderful things to remind everybody, and every year they are having memorials. They're actually trying to do a memorial at the site where he died, at the corner of Dodge and Dempster.
Do you remember what the fire, or do you know anything?
It was the Clayton Marks fire, yep. A wall collapsed, and it collapsed on him and a gentleman named William Craig, who's also a firefighter. They both lost their lives that day.
How old was he?
He was young. My grandmother was 9 and her brother was 8. So they used to live, so like I said, I think Asbury was one of the boundaries, and the houses were actually on Ridge Avenue. So, and the 2 houses were together. Susan lived in one house and her parents lived in the other house. And every Sunday we would sit at the dinner table, and I would hear all these stories. My grandmother sat to the left of my father, and he would talk about Aunt so-and-so and everybody else, and people that had passed long before, and I did not know. But I would hear about it all. I was interested. And my grandmother would say, oh yeah, and I used to go quilting with Grandma Susan and Grandma Caroline. I'm like, Grandma Susan, as in Susan Pratt? She's like, yeah. I'm like, you knew her? And she goes, she was 90 when she died. So she was here a long time. Yeah, we used to quilt on the porch. and we'd have lemonade. And well, I've actually gone to look for the houses. I haven't found them all. My brother and I.
The addresses of them?
I have the addresses. Yes, I do. And so one of them I know is gone. One of them was raised. Paul Pratt's house was actually raised, and another one put up while he was still alive. That house is still there.
Do you know the address? I mean, off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, no. He was on Leon Place, and then she was on Leonard Place. But then there were 1944 and 1947, I think, were the two houses effectively by each other on Ridge Avenue. It's kind of neat, and I've walked in. My grandmother was a card-carrying member of the WCTU.
So would they have actually known
Frances Willard?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. One comment my grandmother had made, she was part of the WCTU, and I did live upstairs, and I did bring in a 6-pack of beer once, and she looked down and she said, please not in my house. And I said, okay, sorry, Grandma. And then I happened to learn that Paul Pratt had all this land, and I said, we owned all of this? We owned a portion of Northwestern University, where he actually gave the land to them? And she said, yeah. And then she would go on and telling me about all the different lands that were owned in town, and I don't know where it was. I'm still trying to find it, but apparently that land was lost in a poker game. And the woman went the next day and won that land back, won that home back. So, and then she married Albert Swanson, whose family, he was born here. His father came from Sweden. But John Swanson built the house that currently still houses Swansons. It was built as a duplex, which is something that they did back then. It's in the Gaffield Park, or I think it's called Gaffield Park. That's over in North Evanston, east of the Civic Center. And so it's kind of in that little pocket east of the Civic Center. And there are some. Yeah, there's a lot of Northwestern housing now. A lot of people, the generations have moved on. We're still, but my brother still has the house, and it's next door to my mother, who also lives still in Evanston. She was, so the Swanson side, they built the house, and the house was always meant for the elderly to be on the first floor, and the next generation upstairs. And as each generation got married, they moved in upstairs, they moved downstairs. When I got married, I lived up there. My mother and father lived up there, and then they didn't move down because they bought the house right next door. So, and then, like I said, we have moved out to Glenview, and I don't see it there. Leave? Why did we leave? We left to get a house with a little more land around it that we could afford, and at that point, it wasn't affordable here. Business is still here, family's still here. It took us years after we bought the house there to even find anything around us, because we kept coming back here, because this is home. So the intent was to get a starter home and then come back, but we're still there. We made a life out there, and our life is both. It's out there, it's here, it's intertwined.
How would you compare Evanston to Glenview?
Here, for me, there's more people stepping up to the town, to the family. If there's something that's going to go wrong, they're going to be out there.
So more engaged.
They're more engaged. They're more involved. They care.
With your family going all the way back, and a lot of African Americans coming here around the late 1800s, do you think there was any connection, or do you know of any connections between your family and how white Evanston related to black Evanston way back then?
I don't. I honestly don't. It's a work in progress, trying to figure out where we are, who they were, what did they do, and like I said, that's the book we're trying to write. My father used to ride horses here in Evanston. His horse was stabled up at the corner of Ridge and Noyes. There was a horse stables there. Now there is a house at the corner of Ridge and Noyes. It's gray, and it has a little house behind it. That was a stopping point on the way to Fort Sheridan. And that was one place you could stop, get food, get rest. They'd take care of your horses, and then you could move on. It's like a halfway point. I felt special because my father was a police officer and very involved and interested. I felt special because so many people respected him, and he respected his past and everybody in his family, and that's where I kind of got the bug. Remember, he passed away in 1998.
And
he was passionate about it. He was a soldier. He was in World War II. But he was a soldier. He was a floral designer, He was an artist. He did leather work. At one point, every police officer in the city of Evanston had a holster that he handmade, and my mother hand-stitched. I mean, he was involved, and he cared about absolutely everybody. And everybody knew him. And as soon as they knew my name, they were like, "You're his daughter."
And your husband's family is from
Belgium.
Belgium. They came here when?
So they came here in the 50s. They came by way of New York, and I believe Massachusetts as well, and then they got here.
And so you were born in Evanston and raised in Evanston, and you never left?
Never left.
And so you went to Evanston High School?
I did.
Where did you go to middle school and elementary school?
Haven. And then I had to go on to Noyes School for kindergarten, and then all three of us were moved over to Orrington. So then I went to Orrington, Haven, ETHS.
And did you go to college?
I did. I went to Bradley University.
And tell me about what you do now, and where we're sitting.
We're sitting in Belgian Chocolatier Piron. My husband and I both went to Evanston Township. We graduated the same day. One of us in the morning, one in the afternoon. Our graduating class was over 1,400 kids. We met a week later through my best friend. So yeah, we met a week later, and it's now been together for 40 years. We've been married 30 years this 3 weeks ago. He had wanted to he was very good with his hands, and he always wanted to do something with his hands, and he went to school for architecture. He got a degree as a draftsman just in the early 80s when they were laying everybody in the building industry off. He had an opportunity to go back to Belgium. His parents go back every year. They happened to be there, and they met one of the best chocolatiers in Europe. He said, well, he's as good with his hands as you say he is. Free exchange, labor for knowledge. There's no pay. I don't know where he's going to live, who he's going to live with, but he can come. I will teach him everything I know. And he did. Since most of the family was still there, he went back, he apprenticed, and came back here and we opened in Northbrook. And we were there for 2 years, and then we had to move to a retail shop. There was some press about us, and we were in the basement of a medical building, private labeling for Nestle, Hormel, and Crate & Barrel, just to get our feet wet, get some money in the bank. And this was really his baby. This is his baby. I managed high-rise office buildings, and that was my career. I did this on the weekends, and then we had 3 kids, and I quit working for a while, and just after number 3 was 2 years old, I was thinking of going back to work once I got things settled with her, and he said, wait a minute, things are kind of working out here. So I would come here after the last bus went to school, and I'd be home before the first bus came home, and aside from no laundry being done that day, the kids didn't know I wasn't home.
And do you actually make chocolates?
I helped him make chocolates during the first 12 years that I was working here before children, and then for the most part now I handle the front.
What do you like about the chocolate business?
You know, when I was still doing real estate, I would work here every Saturday, and I'd work after work. And my husband said, you know, you're always happy when you're here. I said, how can you not? At work, I'm the complaint department. Here, everybody walks in, takes a breath, and goes, ah! And they're happy. And it's great.
Talking about your heritage, what are you proudest of in terms of your heritage and your Evanston history?
That's a hard question. I'm proud that they persevered, that they came here, that they tried, that they were pioneers. You know, my great-great-grandfather tried going to Colorado, said, nope, I got the best of both worlds here. My father was a police officer in the city of Evanston for over 20 years. He started the security department at Evanston Hospital and Glenbrook Hospital and was participating in the building of that. My great-grandfather was one of the first firemen to die in the line of duty in the city of Evanston. George Stiles. He married Carrie Leonhardt, who is the daughter of Susan Pratt and Louis Leonhardt. So it just keeps on going. But they're all about service. They're all about community. They're all about helping their community, growing their community, being a part of it. Bob was on the...
And what do you think, what do you like the most about Evanston?
It's diversity. It is diverse. It is, and I loved just the location, just being at the lake. It just gives you something.
Anybody in your family run for office or hold office or?
Nope. They're always that they've. Like I said, my dad was a police officer, and in my great grandfather was the fire department. My father's father was a plumber. And, I mean, we've all been workers. We're all blue collar workers, and we all work together with everyone around us. It's our town.
One layer is the bar.
Just a general sort.
And then you want 6 pieces with this? Can we use